Hey people, YouTube let me know again that I can't have my own opinion, so I've been down for a week, so last week's movies were put on this other channel, and I'll leave the link to this water bottle at the end here. So I got nothing but gold here, and my reading led me to Ezekiel 17, and I've been reading this the past couple movies, and this has got to be the most important set of words in the Bible. They got mistranslated. And this phrase might come up other places in the Bible, but it comes up in the first chapter, the third line of Ezekiel, and scattered around in 6 and 7. And then starting about chapter 13, it begins every paragraph. And it's reading instructions, how to read this. And you see it starts the next parable down here at 9, at 11. It starts the same thing. They add a and more over to it. But this chapter, it talks about taxonomy and where it grew, where it evolved from, the garden terrace where it grew. And you see when you read this word backwards, you can see it. It's all it grow, G-R-O. And all it grow, the regitaxomy. And it talks about, the look, E-L-U-A-K, the look got. The look got, that look. When she gives you that look, you will not be touching me. You will not be touching me. I can't believe you said that, the look. And it has a better definition for this garden terrace up here. And you see it uses the same word, the source, by its roots. Starting with the M, water source. And you see here this same word, it comes from the base word of jism. Same word, 6780. They say it's spring. It's the same word that was here. They says where it grew. And you see in this word for soil, is the S, and the upper dot is a O-D, the sod. But, all the soil, comes from all so death, the D-E-T-H, the death of. Also death of goes into the soil. And that's what it's talking about here, is where it's been planted. And it's talking about how to use a terrace garden. And this seemed to be something they learned from the Japanese, because you'll see the word Japan in here a lot. And it has to do with this word here, the L-E-S-F-U-T, less foot. In a terrace garden has less foot, it's growing in a tower. And that's also, it less squat, it's the squat where you water it. And so you just water it and you fertilize it. You squat on the top layer and it runs on down the terrace, you fertilize it from the top and plant according to. Your first couple layers, you'll still be breaking down your mulch. And so, the less foot of what a mortgage, your mortgage, you're paying for that area of land that you're on, And so you have to terrace, to get less foot of your mortgage, you have to build up. And so this is the ancient name of a terrace garden, and it's Lu, it of the squat out of mortgage what model. The squat out of mortgage what model. This is, M-T-H-O, and the O-E becomes a O-L-E, the model, where it had been planted in the garden terrace. And I believe this thing that they're calling the eagle, I believe that this is more of a woodpecker. And, the feathers are nuts, N-U-X, and N-U-T-S. Nuts is this old goddess of the night, N-U-X. And it's also the suffix meaning, the claw. And so this isn't feathers, it's wearing nuts in your claw. Get your dick beaters off of me, your hand, wearing nuts. And this word for the vine, it's the LGPN. It's the ledge upon. A terrace garden, the ledge upon what as bid 'em, it bid 'em, what ledge it's on. And that's also, Japan. It's built up on the ledge. Everybody knows that parts of it already fell off in the ocean. And you see that word, for the taxonomy was just the XMHE. You see it here, and grow. And now it's and jism. And I believe that means the sunshine. It means the male part of the seed. And you see it with this line finishing here, the memor, the memorin. The memor in, and this is going to be a good chapter to figure out exactly what that memorin means, because it comes up a lot. And the memor in, and then emits, IMX, IMTSP, emits, puts, PT, and then the SPESM. And the memor emits, puts, spesum, SPESM, the spasm, the species, the spasm, and jism, how they'll ledge upon. And so I'm going to try to read this whole thing, and some of it I'm going to pronounce and won't even get. But these two eagles it's talking about two woodpeckers, I believe, and the one whose wife from zero, zero is the shape of an egg, a bird seed, and the wife from zero, hearts, loves. And so a lot of these pictures, that's where they get this land from. They say that Africa is the land of the heart, but it's shaped like a heart. And they knew this since the time that they were writing on clay tablets. They said the same thing. The land of the heart was Africa. And here's a word that's spelt, exactly INIQUTY, iniquity. Iniquity, immoral, grossly unfair, not equal, not just. And the iniquity, it'll explain what that means here. And then you can see, and this wife attacks them. You can see the same beginning of that word for the jism that grows. And it'll have a bunch of clues here to let me to believe that it's talking more about the woodpecker than the eagle. But it's mostly in this scientific name for a woodpecker that's spelled out in plain Latin. And it's a Hackenpie markever. A Hackenpie markever. And so a piver is a woodpecker. This a marquee is a colored tarp put over the captain's tent so everybody could tell, that's the captain's tent. Got a big red tarp on top of his green tent. A marquee is a big marker. It's a marker over the captain's tent. You see it on all the pivers, all the woodpeckers. They got a big marker on top of their head. And I believe in this chapter that every single line is going to have these rhymes, the godel, and the ammer, keyammer, and the muscle. And that's the main place where the Bible loses everything in translation. Once you lost all these rhymes, you don't realize that the words were twisted for poetry. So don't look for anywhere to back up what I'm telling you. I don't know where to find it either. Everything I'm telling you, I've learned by studying the language, not by what they tell me about the language. And what I've learned with all these extra marks here is it reads more than one time. And this is going to tell a big clue right here. This same phrase comes up in a couple other places in the Bible, but it stays consistent throughout Ezekiel here. And it comes up, the third line here in the first chapter, Ezekiel. And then all the way through it, Ezekiel, it's going to have that same spelling, those same words. And you see the beginning of chapters and anywhere a new story starting. This is the words it begins with. So this is where your word holy word comes from. The holy lammer, the spoken word. And Ali, that's Arabic names. They say it means honorable, the holy word. And this is why they, or why, meaning how or who in hid. Who hidden. Who hidden, wry means twisted. And reveal, means to untwist it. And the reveille means to wake up, and breve means brave, means quickly. You see on all the ancient Italian music, it means double time, breve. And so when you just read this straight through with none of the marks, it's who hid and reveal the word. But it's also, who they'd abbreviate. They abbreviate. When you're in a hurry, you're not reading the whole thing, and they abbreviate the holy word. And so when you're just reading it straight through, that's what you're doing. When you run into this, you're abbreviating. This is an abbreviation. And if you look into the abbreviation, then it has meaning, the I, to make the connected life. And so it means you, but it not you, but your spirit. Your spirit is connected to the life form. And so you is just an abbreviation. When I say you, I'm talking to your mind that's connected to the life. But when you come back and read it with this mark here, it's the only one, and they're all read the same. And so it changes it, and it's reading the revive, Reveive. So this is why they'd in revive the holy word. Why, meaning how or who. And they would in revive, EYE, to revive, to see it again, to revive, have a holy lammer, the spoken word, to revive the holy spoken word. So if you're in a hurry, you abbreviate, you read through quick. And so this is the way I read most of the time. I just read the letters on top in one direction. But then if I want to catch more into it, then I'll go back and I'll read, how they'd in revive the holy word and bring the whole meaning back to it. So it's telling me, I can get a breve just by reading across here. Ben had 'em who to hide, muzzle. All in it is rule, albeit is rule. But if I want to revive the holy word, then I'll follow this mark and I'll read this, been from BNM, been from dad, DAD, been from dad from, and that's the son and the man. When you say dad, if you're a male, that one word is including a man and a son, and that's where they're getting both of these from, been from dad, from who'd hide, a muzzle. And muzzle, usually means, to keep them from speaking and speak a parable or just muzzle. And then here, in all, and then I'm reading this, the tie in it, his rule. So it's in the muzzle, all in it, his rule, and the muzzle, all that tie, it's all that's connected in it, his rule. The house is tie bet. The tie bet is rule. So I'm going to have to make a separate movie. I want to read this whole thing all in one shot from 1 to 10, I think it is. And I'll put it all in this same folder and connect it at the end. I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.